Hello. Can you guys hear? Well, I guess nobody. Carrington, can you message that you can hear me okay? Okay, good. All right, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Starling Johnson-Kaklamanos, your moderator for the session on selling during COVID, which is sponsored by YPG. Before we get started, we have a few housekeeping items to review. We're using several different platforms throughout the Midyear event in order to provide the best technology for each unique session. In this session, we're using Adobe Connect platform. All attendee lines will be muted upon entry. Attendees may participate in the session by using the Q&A box. Should you need any help during this session, please do not hesitate to call on the NCMA staff at the number on your screen. Randy is the contact. Her cell phone number is there and also her email. Please note that this session is being recorded, and by participating in this meeting, you are consenting to being recorded. Please also note NCMA's antitrust policy, which can be found on NCMA's Midyear event website. All participants are expected to exhibit professional behavior in compliance with this policy, as well as NCMA's anti-harassment policy. As noted on the slide, please refrain, intervene, or disengage from inappropriate discussions and report any concerns directly to an NCMA staff person. We want to thank our very generous sponsors for their support of this event. Visit the NCMA Midyear event website to meet all of our event sponsors. And now it's my pleasure to introduce our speaker. Gary Ross is a speaker, trainer, coach, author, and founder of Allies in Leadership. Allies in Leadership is dedicated to the sales and leadership development of individuals, as well as the improvement of collaborative teams. Gary is also an executive director with the John Maxwell team. As a leadership and sales expert, Gary works with businesses to promote personal growth, sharpen leadership skills, enhance teamwork, and develop emerging leaders. Prior to becoming a sales and leadership trainer and coach, Gary was vice president of sales and marketing for Coastal, an Oldcastle company based in Florida. He has over 36 years of sales and leadership experience. Under his leadership, Coastal consistently outpaced their sales budgets and was named the Oldcastle Company of the Year in 2012. Gary holds a Bachelor of Science degree in Human Resource Management from Palm Beach Atlantic University. He earned a certificate in supervisory development from the University of Notre Dame, and he completed the sales professional program from Florida State University and is recognized as a certified sales professional. Welcome, Gary.
Thank you, thank you. Whew, boy, I have to learn to shorten that bio because every time I hear it, I just feel older and older. But hey, I would like to welcome everyone to today's workshop. Well, I'm already having a problem with the slides. Did I screw up?
No worries, Gary. Let me just re-upload those for you. If you want to continue on with your presentation just a little bit, I'll get those going for you. Please stand by.
Okay. Okay, very good. Well, you know, no matter what it is that you are selling, definitely over the past few months, you have likely felt the impact of COVID-19. And these uncertain times have left many salespeople to cease selling altogether, which is not a good strategy. You don't want to be doing that. However, there are salespeople out there that are maintaining and in some cases even increasing their sales numbers and are doing it all from home. Okay? Now, while everyone is distracted and a bit scared during this COVID-19 pandemic, you should not stop selling. But the way you sell needs to shift because it is not business as usual, and it won't be business as usual for a few more months and likely even longer. So today's program, we are going to go over the good, the bad, and the ugly of selling during this current pandemic. We'll also review several tips to make your virtual selling process a success, how to set up your virtual call, and steps to take to improve your ability to sell virtually. Okay? So just waiting for the slides to come up. How are we doing, Kathleen?
We're doing good. We're almost there. It'll just be a few more seconds.
Oh.
If you want to keep moving forward, we'll be up on the screen very shortly.
Okay. So as I said, we're going to go over the good, the bad, and the ugly of selling virtually in this market, but during this pandemic. But what I want to get at first, I definitely want to start with the ugly. All right, we're going to start with the ugly and go backwards and wrap up with the good. So we, get all the bad news out of the way. Okay. When we talk about the ugly, we're talking about, the company's profits, your organization's profits are under pressure. Companies will discover that, hey, there's some redundancies. They're learning to do more with less. They're identifying jobs that may no longer be required, and those particular jobs that will be eliminated that won't necessarily have a major impact on the company. Many companies and many people employed are facing reduced salaries. They're facing layoffs. They're facing furloughs. We've heard of major retail store chains filing bankruptcy, like Macy's and Penny's, Brooks Brothers, just to name a few. So those are some of the ugly things that we're dealing with here with the pandemic. We also may be experiencing some issues with product shortages. Some of our factories, manufacturing locations may have been shut down or running on a reduced hourly schedule. So what's happening there is it could be causing product shortages, delays in getting the building materials that are needed, which are resulting in delays in construction. So, you can see we've got some ugly things happening on. Also, we have to deal with changing the way we sell. Now, change is difficult, and some people seem to really struggle with it. But we must learn to change the way we sell, because in-person selling, for the most part, is on hold. Even as things open up, some businesses may not want you to come in because of fear of exposing their employees to outside COVID concerns. So even though you might see things opening up, you still may not be able to have those face-to-face, in-person communication. So that means we need to learn to communicate better using the technology that we've had for a while. The phone, the computer, our tablets, these are ways that we can continue to communicate and do it in an effective way where we're not having the ability to do the face-to-face, in-person negotiation or selling. But the key here, please, do not stop selling. The way you sell needs to shift. That's all. That's what we're talking about here. Okay? So now let's go on to the bad. The bad. Now, some of the bad may be that, hey, you know what? The sales team isn't tech savvy. One of the biggest issues with virtual selling is when you have possibly a tenured or experienced sales team that is exceptional at selling traditional high personal touch methods, but they may not have the technological skills needed to make that easy transition over to virtual selling. So what do we do in that situation? Well, look at the sales tools that you will be using in the virtual selling environment. Some you'll likely already have been using, and your sales reps have familiarity with them. You know? Others, particularly those that may require some advanced knowledge, well, it will require you to provide some training, reinforcement, and support, just like you would with any other type of new sales skill. Well, it looks like my slide presentation is up, so I'm going to blow through these real quick here. There we have some of the ugly, profits under pressure, redundancies, doing more with less, jobs no longer required. Hey, we got a full yard of block, but guess what? You know what? We've shut down our machineries. Some of our plants are running on a reduced hourly schedule, so we have some shortages. We're just not selling like we used to. The face-to-face is not there. So it requires us to use our tools that we've always had in front of us, the computer, the phone, the tablet. We talk about the bad. Catching up with that right now is, your tenured sales rep may not have the technological savvy to do a virtual meeting. That's where your training needs to come into play. And you need to find out what it is, what do they need, and you need to provide that training. Also, hey, guess what? Technology can break. And we just witnessed that in the first part of my slide presentation. That's another ugly, right? Your video conferencing software is having problems. The prospect you're trying to conduct a discovery meeting with is having horrible reception in their home. They don't have such great internet service. There's no end to the number of issues that can crop up when trying to sell virtually. So the solution to that is you want to make sure you have a backup in different formats. Now, for instance, with this, when we had our little hiccup on this presentation, I kept on talking because I am the presentation, not my PowerPoint. So I had to continue on. Maybe having some problems with a demo video refusing to load, have a PDF available that breaks down the features and processes of the product and email it to the prospect or the client. Maybe you can't hear the client because the kids are yelling and won't be quiet. See if you can switch to a text-based communication. Or, worst case scenario, sending an email that summarizes, what you are able to cover before the screening started. Okay? Now, also part of the bad is your clients can't physically touch and interact with your products. The tactical experience is key to selling many products. With virtual selling, that critical connection between the buyer and the product is lost. And some buyers might be more hesitant about purchasing without having that ability. Well, there are a couple solutions to this scenario. Okay? If it's something where you can send a sample for potential buyers to interact with, consider that strategy and schedule a virtual meeting where you can be there and walk them through the process, walk the client through the product as they engage with it. This approach will closely replicate the physical experience that helps them connect your face and voice to the company and the offering. It really is the closest you can come to the traditional sales experience. Now, it is not possible to send a sample. Then let's lean on some videos that show and demonstrate the product. You can do your research by looking on videos of product demonstrations that are widely available on YouTube. Now, let's talk about the good. All right, we went through the ugly and the bad. Let's take a look at the good. Some of the good things that are happening due to the pandemic. Well, number one, labor. We can see an increase is available in skilled labor. With some projects slowing down, skilled labor may be more readily available, allowing subcontractors to take on new projects from general contractors. Also, interest rates. Low interest rates. We are actually setting record-breaking interest rates here, record-breaking low interest rates, right? So contractors can finance more projects and cover more operating expenses with these lines of credit that are available at a low interest rate. The government has stepped in and is sending out stimulus. Federal and state governments are passing unprecedented stimulus packages to boost the economy and get things back on track quickly. Also, look to expect a large investment on the infrastructure across the country. And the use of web conferencing platforms has exploded. You know, many of these systems have been around for several years, but it's just recently, because of the pandemic, that we are now discovering them and using them. And even after, and we will get through this, even after this is over, I think a lot of us have found that, you know what, this could be another way, a cost-saving way, to get in front of your team, your clients, your prospects. So with the pandemic, that will go away. I believe that these web conferencing platforms will continue to be a popular way of communicating in the future. Now, let's take a look at some next steps that you can take to improve your ability to sell virtually. Okay, so let's see here. One thing we have to understand, number one, accept that this will be slow and hard. Patience is a practice in trust. No matter what you do, everyone's distracted. Now more than ever, your organization and sales managers are low on the list of your prospects' priorities. Your efforts may fail, but if you take no action, failure is guaranteed. So, practice patience, realizing that this is going to be slow and hard. We are nowhere near out of the woods yet. But staying calm, being patient, working the way things are being done now will ensure success down the road. Also, recognize that your client is the hero and you are the helper. We're all the hero of our own lives, but right now, more than ever, your job is to make your client the hero. As the helper, your company, you're there to help your clients reach their goals. And this helps you reach your goals. Also, it's time to commit to a long-term sales mindset. By this, I mean, are you going to be helpful, long-term focused, patient, or are you going to be transactional, short-term, and desperate? My advice to you is to focus on the long-term approach. You may be tempted, I know you may be tempted to compromise and take shortcuts, but is that in line with your values? And as they say, values are not values unless following them costs you money. Think about that. Values are not values until following them costs you money. You're in it for the long haul. Be long-term focused. Be helpful. Be patient. Key factor here is also showing empathy. Empathy is feeling or understanding what someone else is feeling. And kindness is empathy in action. As I said earlier, everyone is distracted by this, and some may be even dealing with the symptoms of COVID-19 or have relatives or colleagues who are also fighting this disease. Put yourself in your prospect or client's shoes for a moment. Ask them, how are you doing? How are you coping? Ask them how their family is. How's your family? Ask and listen. Ask and listen before you tell. Don't be pushy or tone deaf to your customers' messages. Ask. Ask and listen before you tell. What are their company's social distancing practices? You may want to discuss that, right? Ask them, how are they going about selling their products or services to their customers? Ask, listen before you tell. Remember, I don't know if anybody's read the book Gap Selling, but according to Keenan, who is the author of Gap Selling, your message about your product or service you're promoting should benefit the customer's current situation. Focus on how you can alleviate, mitigate, or improve it. The message about your product or service that you are promoting should benefit the customer's current situation. Focus. Focus on that. How you can alleviate, mitigate, or improve it. Also, this requires a great deal of teamwork now. Now it's important that we understand we are still part of a team. Even though we may be isolated in our homes, we may not be going to our offices, we may not be experiencing that team environment firsthand, but enlist your team to help. Stay connected with your team. Check in with your team. See how they're doing. Ask, listen before you tell. Then, enlist your team to help by maybe sending samples and product information, specifications, or production scheduling updates, product inventories, right? Remember, you are part of a team. You want to stay connected to that team, and now more than ever, you need to make that effort to keep connected with your team. And this requires you to be a good team player. Good team players are flexible. They adapt. They cooperate with teammates and the leader. Good team players are motivators and they're appreciators. And they respect all team members. Good team players are committed. Committed. You want to know how you become a good team player? You want to know how you can recognize if you are a good team player? A good team player is the person everyone likes to work with. Be that person. Be that person now more than ever. There's a lot of uncertainty. There's a lot of things happening. We have to understand that even though we may be working from our homes or isolated, still part of that team. Reach out to those people. Stay connected with those people. Communicate with those people. Phone calls, texts, emails. Be that good team player. When they call you, when they want to get a hold of you, respond. Respond quickly. And help your teammates any way you possibly can. Also, this is the time that, you can't be out there, even though you're out there by yourself, you can't be out there by yourself. You need to be seeking advice. You need to seek advice from other members of your sales team. See what they're doing, how they're doing it, how are they coping, what ideas have they come up with. Communication now needs to be really, really ramped up. Seek advice from your sales leader, your sales manager, your VP of sales. Look at other people within your inner circle. Seek advice from them. Also, take advantage of a lot of these sales training webinars that are out there now. And listen to sales podcasts. There are many articles on the internet selling during this pandemic that you can research and get some great tips on how you can be an effective salesperson during this COVID-19 pandemic. Remember, you can't stop selling, but the way you sell has to change. It's got to shift. Also, you want to make yourself indispensable now at work. Now is not the time to start saying, that's not my job, or I don't usually do that. Isn't somebody else supposed to do that? You need to be going the extra mile here. This is not the time to start talking that way. You want to make sure you're tracking your activities in your CRM so everybody can see it, or your weekly report. Now, if you don't know how to use your CRM, the calendar, or the tools you use to communicate and keep everybody informed on what you're doing, find out how. Find out how. You need to learn how to use these tools because you want to make yourself indispensable at work right now. Now's not the time to take these things lightly and say, well, I don't need to learn that. You do. You do. You need to learn it, and you need to use it. Make yourself indispensable at work. Now, I want to go over some virtual selling skills that each and every one of you must master as you begin to go through this shift in selling techniques. Whatever happened to meeting a client for coffee? It just seems so long ago, right? Something so simple. But it's harder than ever to be a sales professional these days because we don't have that interaction. And we don't have that face-to-face where we can read those subtle hints, their body language, their facial expression to see whether or not they're agreeing with what we're saying. Of course, Skype calls, Zoom calls, those types of things are great ways to connect, to see that sort of stuff. Are they the same as being in person? Not quite, but close enough that you're going to be able to see if you're making headway with your client. All right? So let's look at some skill sets modern salespeople should master and why they matter. So let's take a look at how selling virtually now can be successful for you. Some tips for a successful virtual meeting. First tip, would be webcams. Stop whining and embrace them. Okay, I know I came across a little harsh, but seriously, we know that communication happens best when we can see the other person in real time and pick up those cues I was talking about earlier. That's why nothing will ever replace face-to-face sales calls. Now, the phone can bridge that, but we're relying on a small set of cues to be effective. Voice tone, pauses. Webcams allow us to both see and hear the other person. One very real problem is that most people hate using webcams because although they like seeing others, they hate being on camera themselves. And an uncomfortable salesperson probably isn't very effective. So you need to get comfortable with webcams. That's why learning to use a webcam to conduct a sales call is absolute must. The sooner you get over this discomfort of being on a webcam, the sooner you will reap the benefits of a more effective communication. Start by using webcams internally, within your own organization. Get comfortable with it. When you meet with your sales manager or teammates, use the webcam. Instead of a phone call, make it a webcam meeting. Make it a Zoom meeting. The first few times, it does feel uncomfortable. And it's kind of weird. But eventually, that all dissipates, and it becomes the norm. And I guarantee that even when we get over COVID-19, this will still be somewhat of a norm. You know, people will still want to use these to conduct their meetings. Right? So get used to the webcam. Don't be so shy. Right? A good way of practicing this is making sure that you offer a webcam for your communication with your team as well as with your customers. Now, something else that has just come out through AIA and ASLA. You know, I know a lot of people on the call here probably have done lunch and learns, and they're probably wondering, okay, what do we do now? Now we can't get into our architects' offices, our engineers' offices to do these lunch and learns. Well, AIA is allowing CEUs, continuing education units, for virtual lunch and learns. So you can conduct a virtual lunch and learn and still offer your continuing education units. ASLA is also doing it. Now, I understand the difference is ASLA is requiring that there be a quiz after your virtual lunch and learn. And that's no problem because you can get on SurveyMonkey and come up with a 5-question quiz, right? It's not that difficult to do. So, yeah, virtual lunch and learns still are qualifying for CEUs. Reach out to your architects, reach out to your engineers, let them know that you can offer a virtual lunch and learn. And by all means, preparation is the key. Preparation is the key. So when you're going to be doing your program, make sure that you are well prepared, you have everything set up, and it's going to run smooth. Prepare also for little glitches along the way that can happen. Now, when I say about preparation being the key, one thing you need to do is set the ground rules up first. When you send out your email invitation to your virtual meeting, whether it's the lunch and learn, whether it is a meeting with your salespeople, whether it's a meeting with a client or a prospect, set the ground rules in that email. You know, please keep your computer, your laptop on mute until you enter the meeting, and I will unmute you when needed. Please have your projector on so we can see you. Okay? Use the chat box. Use the chat box to communicate. Okay? Great way of conducting a very large meeting, having everybody on mute and referring them to use the chat box. You can put in some comments, questions using the chat box feature. That way, having them muted, all those background noises that are happening at their home won't come through, but they'll still be able to help be participating in the meeting, right? Also, check your background. Check your background, right? Real or virtual background. Hey, it is okay to use a real background, but minimize the clutter behind you, right? If a virtual background is what you want to use, that's okay, but make sure you pick a good selection. I was on a meeting the other day, and the person hosting it, their background was the Tiger King. Not exactly very business appropriate, right? Got a chuckle out of a lot of people, but come on, we don't want to make this into some type of comedy show, right? Have something, if you're going to use a virtual background, have something that's appropriate, not the Bob's Burger restaurant, maybe a conference room or possibly a bookcase behind you, something that also doesn't have a lot of distractions to it. Choose your virtual background appropriately. Okay? Now remember, you're on the air. You're on the air, folks. This is TV. This is like the 5 o'clock news. So you want to sit up straight. Keep your hands away from your face. Right? Watch your nervous habits. Maybe you have a nervous habit of tapping your fingers on or drumming the desk. Can't do that. Maybe you have a nervous habit of clicking your pen, right? We all have gone through people who have, clicking their pen. You want to make sure you're not doing that. Biting your nails, whatever it is. Remember, you are on TV. It's pretty much what it is. You're on television. So eliminate those nervous habits. Sit up straight, hands away from the face, focused on the meeting at hand. Also, this is still a business meeting. You're still meeting with clients, prospects, your sales team, your sales peers, your teammates. Dress appropriately. Dress appropriately as if it was an in-person business meeting. Okay? Still a business meeting. So just because you're at home doesn't mean you shuffle in with your robe and PJs and your cup of coffee and your hair a mess and unshaven. No. You still need to prepare as if this is a true business meeting. Right? Those people that have swimming pools, that's another call I was on a few weeks ago. A guy was conducting his business meeting at the side of his pool. A beautiful pool, but hey, this is a business meeting. Yeah? He's in a tank top, swim shorts, and flip-flops. That's not the image you want to portray when you're selling virtually. Keep it business. Keep it business. Dress appropriately, please. Okay? Also, keep the lighting in front of you. If you put the lighting behind you, then you always see is your silhouette. Right? And what happens there is you look like one of those guests on that TV show Dateline or that's in the witness protection program. I'm sure we've all seen that where the person is all dark, all we see is the silhouette. If you put the lighting behind you, that's what you're going to get. Keep the lighting in front of you. Keep the lighting in front of you. And of course, you want to remove noise, distractions. Put your phone on silent, or better yet, put it in another room. I think I'm one of the few of the Americans that still have a landline in their house. If your office at home and you have a landline, remove it, unplug it so it doesn't ring. Okay. Close the door. In my office here at home, I close the door, I have a sign, Zoom meeting in progress. That means no one comes in. No one comes in. There's no disruption. I don't have young kids anymore at the house. They're all grown. But, you know, occasionally the wife is wondering where I am, what I'm doing. So, you know, I don't want her walking down the hall screaming my name. The door is closed. Zoom meeting in progress, right? So, also close all your computer programs, your emails, anything that's going to send off a bell or a chime or some sort of noise. Shut those all down, right? And keep your children and your pets away. Keep them away. You know, we're working at home. We're dealing with kids at home. We're dealing with pets. Make sure they are somewhere in the other part of the house where they're not going to be disturbing you, where the noise they make isn't going to come through to your meeting. Also, no food. No food. Never, ever, ever eat during your virtual meeting. No food, right? Nothing can be any more unprofessional than to be able to watch a virtual meeting and somebody pick up a bologna sandwich or munch on a bunch of noisy potato chips. No food during a meeting. It's okay to have a drink there because maybe you're talking and you want to have a drink. Water is fine. Water is fine. If it's a morning meeting, cup of coffee is fine. Okay. No martinis, no alcoholic beverages, you know, nothing like that. You're still conducting business. You're still supposed to maintain a level of professionalism. This will help you be more effective in your virtual selling environment. So remember, no eating during the meeting. If you have to eat, make sure you eat before the meeting so you have the energy to carry on the meeting. And then, of course, wait till after the meeting to eat, but no food during the meeting. Now, you also want to make sure that your name appears with your picture. As you can see here in my photo, my name is there, so you know who I am. Make sure your name appears with your picture instead of user 1, user 2. You know, identify yourself. Identify yourself, and prior to the meeting, make sure you do a sound check of your microphone and your speaker. You know, Zoom allows you to test those things. Test them. Get them in a good working order, you know. Practice ahead of time. Practice ahead of time. You can record yourself during a Zoom meeting. Just do the meeting on your own, record yourself, and play it back. See how it sounds. See how you look. You can pick up maybe some things you're doing that, oh, geez, I didn't realize I was doing that. Make sure that you take some time to practice prior to meeting with your prospect or client virtually. And, of course, the utmost important thing to do is don't be afraid to ask for the sale. Don't be afraid to ask for the sale. This is just the same as if you were sitting in their office at a conference room table, across their desk, wherever you meet with your customer in person or your prospect in person. Don't be afraid to ask for the sale. Now, you might want to say, well, there are ways to ask. Shall we move forward with this? Okay. Shall I send you our terms and conditions for you to review, sign, and get back to me so we can get your order moving? I will email you the order form for you to sign. Please send it back. Or maybe you have DocuSign. There's plenty of different types of electronic signing software out there where you can send the document and they sign it electronically and you immediately get it back. I will send you a DocuSign document for you to signature electronically. Then once we get it back, I can put your order in place, right? So remember, if it's a sales call, don't be afraid to ask for the sale. Just because you're doing it virtually does not mean that, you can't ask for the sale. Make sure you rehearse your virtual presentation with another person. Right? Get another teammate. Hey, I want to do a dry run. I want to do a dress rehearsal here. I'm talking to this big block mason, or I'm talking to this dealer who's going to be carrying our products. I have this presentation I put together for him. It's about 15, 20 minutes. Like you to watch it, and I'd like you to provide me with some feedback. Do a virtual presentation with another person and get feedback. That's how you improve. Pick up on things that you're doing that you didn't realize you were doing. Right? And of course, remember to smile. Remember to smile. Smiles, they can be seen. They can also be heard. Right? You can tell when someone's on the phone with you and they're talking if they're smiling or not. Okay? I had to call my doctor this morning to get a prescription renewed, right? And I could tell right away when the person answered, the receptionist, she was not smiling. She must be having a bad day. I'm sure their office is very busy, but you could tell she was not smiling. Okay? Now, I did have to call a drywall person because I have some repairs to the bathroom I'm doing here, and I need the guy to come in and hang some drywall. When he answered the phone, I could tell he had a smile on his face. The tone is different. You can hear a smile. Remember, you're on the air, you're on TV, smile. Make sure you smile. So to sum it all up here and leave some time for Q&A, virtual selling just became vital to your business. Just became vital to your business. Above all, the biggest thing you will need to adjust to virtual selling is patience. Patience. Few things in life go entirely smooth or completely as planned, especially when changeover is so rapid, as in the case that many of us are experiencing, adopting this virtual selling process. Keep calm. Keep calm. Know that you just need to work through the problems. So work through the problems and get to the solutions. Take a look at the PowerPoint. This is being recorded. I believe you're all going to get a copy of it. Look at these ideas and things that have been mentioned. Put them in place. Virtual selling is now the new norm. Make sure you're prepared with the skills and the techniques suited for a successful virtual sales environment. Ladies and gentlemen, that wraps up my presentation. I want to open up anybody has any questions. We have the Q&A chat, and just go ahead and you can put in some questions. You can always reach out to me directly. I know a lot of times the presentation is over, PowerPoint's done, I'm out of here, and I should have asked this. Feel free to either give me a phone call, 561-662-9666, or send me a text, that same number, 561-662-9666, or, email me, Gary R. at alliesandleadership.com. Gary R. at alliesandleadership.com. I will be glad to answer any questions you may have. Okay? So, we'll wait and see if we have any questions, any comments. I hope you all are enjoying this virtual format. This is one of my few virtual meetings I have hosted so far, so I know a lot of organizations are going to this for their summer and annual meeting.
So, Gary, we do have 2 questions.
Okay.
Can you offer advice on how to virtually engage with clients who have multiple stakeholders involved in a potential transaction?
Well, you want to make sure, number one, that you get the people, everybody that is a decision maker in the Zoom meeting or the virtual meeting, right? You have to make sure that you include them in all invites. Make sure that all decision makers are present. That's key. And you can hold those meetings on Zoom. I've had meetings as many as 40 people on a Zoom call. So, it can be done. You just want to make sure with that many people, maybe you go to the chat room format for questions, for comments. But I would say make sure you extend invites to all of those people. Okay?
All right, and then the last question so far.
Uh-huh.
Actually, no, we've got a couple more questions that have come in. So,
Okay.
All right, so this one is from James Kane. I'm sorry, it's not expanding. Essentially, the question was, how do you change salespeople from order takers to consultative salespeople? Is there a certain course that you'd recommend?
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, that's the key in selling. You don't want to be an order taker. You want to be a person that can provide solutions, can provide value, can provide benefits. People don't want to be sold, but they love to buy. And they looking at the salesperson as someone who can bring value to them. Yes, I do offer courses in that, and you can email me, and I can help you and decide and set up a course for you. But it is all about bringing value to your customer, and every time you contact that client or that prospect, you're bringing them something. Never calling just I'm just touching base. So you want to continue to bring value, and you want to have discovery meetings so you can find out exactly what problems or concerns or issues your client or prospect is dealing with, so you can then provide those solutions, right? So it requires you to ask questions. Ask questions, smart questions, and then listen. Listen. Ask, listen, then tell. Okay? Okay? We have any more?
Carrington, I can't expand the questions. It's not working, but it looks like Dean has one.
Yeah,
but
Dean has one. How do you respond to someone who wants you to come in person, but your company does not have a travel policy yet?
Your company does not have a travel policy yet, but they want you to come in person. Well, this requires you to do some soul searching on your own, too. Are you in a situation where you feel comfortable traveling and arriving in person? If you feel that way, I would definitely say you need to really practice the social distancing guidelines set up by the CDC, and also wear a mask. Wear a mask, right? Do that and practice those social distancing. If you are uncomfortable with that, I would just be very honest with the person. I had someone call me and say, "Gee, can you meet me here down in Fort Lauderdale? I have a client. They want to go over some training." I said, I'm of that certain age group that is a high risk. My wife's parents live with us, and they are even an older age group, and they are having their own health issues, and they are an extremely high risk, and I really don't want to expose myself to anything that could jeopardize their health. So I would prefer if we could, if it's all right with you, meet through a Zoom meeting. That's how I would I would never say well, my company has a travel policy when they don't. You don't ever want to lie to your customer, but you want to be upfront and honest. People will understand the situation if you're upfront and honest. Okay? Anything else?
I think that's it. Karen, can you see any other questions?
No, Garen just sent one. It said, can you offer some insight on how to work through conversations and meetings with customers who may not be very tech savvy?
Yeah. Practice patience. Practice patience, right? That is kind of tough. And I know I know how tough that can be because we've all dealt with it. We've all had that, and you're going to have that. You're going to have that situation. So those people, you may have to rely on possibly the telephone, right? Everybody can figure that out and make those particular phone calls, all right? That may be a way, okay? It may be where you need to send some stuff and to them and correspond via telephone with them. I would probably hesitate to try to teach them how to conduct or be a part of a Zoom meeting because that could take on a whole life of its own. So I would use something that they're more familiar with. I have a client over on the west coast of Florida who is not very tech savvy. He's a business owner. He's a coaching client of mine. We don't do Zoom meetings. We do it through the telephone. And if I have something I want him to look at and review, I don't email it to him because he doesn't check his email. I actually ship it to him. I actually send it to him. So, that's how I deal with it. It's a little difficult right now, kind of out of the norm, but those are ways that you're going to have to get comfortable with and do what you can so you don't alienate or offend your client or prospect on the other end. Okay. I guess that Gary, can you offer? Okay, I think we've got all the questions answered. Again, my email GaryR@alliesandleadership.com. I believe it's probably on some literature that you received at the mid-year event. Reach out to me. I'm here to help you any way I can. With that, I'll turn it over to Kathleen or Carrington. We're putting up the last slide for your.
Yes.
Okay.
These are our next couple of sessions that are coming up from 3:15 on into our 2 social events tonight. I hope you guys can join us. And thank you so much, Gary. That was great. And thank you for everybody that participated.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I'm glad I could be a part of this. It's again a little different, right? A little different, but got the message out. So, hey everybody, make it a great day, make it a great week, and please stay safe. I'll sign off. Thank you.